If you think insecurity is just another headline, listen to this, because what happened in Niger State is a warning sign for every community that depends on a single market day to survive. A rural market that feeds families across several villages was attacked, set on fire, and turned into a scene of loss and fear. Police say more than 30 people were killed, but local accounts suggest the toll could be higher, with some residents still unaccounted for. Women and children were among the victims, and others were taken away in the chaos. This is Follow Trends. Before we go deeper, subscribe and turn on notifications. If you value fact-led breakdowns that cut through rumors and propaganda, like this video and stay with me, because the details matter, the dates matter, and accountability starts with the truth. Here is why this story matters right now. On Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, a market day in Kasuwan Daji linked to Demo village in Kabe District, Borgu local government area of Niger State, collapsed into violence. In communities like this, the market is not just where people buy rice, beans, yam, and fish. It is where traders rotate capital, where farmers move produce, where transporters earn daily money, and where families stock up for the week. When a market is attacked, it is not only lives that are lost. Livelihoods, food supply, and community confidence are shattered at once. Niger State sits in Nigeria's north-central zone, but it shares the same reality many northern states are battling: wide rural spaces, long response distances, and forest routes that armed groups exploit. And this is not happening in a vacuum. In recent months, Niger has faced major security incidents, including the mass abduction of school children and staff from a Catholic school around the Agwara axis in late 2025. So when KasuwanDaji was attacked, many people did not see a single isolated incident. They saw a pattern, one that keeps repeating in places where security presence is thin and communities feel exposed. Now, let's walk through what happened, step by step, in a clear timeline. According to the state police account released after the incident, information about the attack reached security authorities later in the evening, but the raid itself began earlier. The gunmen struck around 4:30 p.m. on January 3rd. Reports describe the attackers as coming through routes connected to the National Park Forest Corridor around Kabe District, an area residents have repeatedly linked to criminal hideouts. In plain language, this is the advantage attackers look for: a place to strike from and a place to disappear into. KasuwanDaji market was active. Traders had goods displayed. Buyers were moving from stall to stall. Some people were preparing to travel back to surrounding communities. That is when the attackers stormed in. Witness accounts describe the gunmen arriving on motorcycles and firing into the area, triggering immediate panic. People ran in different directions, towards footpaths, towards nearby homes, into bushes, anything to escape. But in market attacks, escape routes can become dangerous fast because crowds scatter, visibility drops, and armed men control movement with fear. After the first shots, the raid escalated into looting and destruction. Multiple reports say shops were broken into and food items were carted away. Stalls were set on fire and parts of the market were burnt. Some accounts also indicate nearby homes were affected. What that tells you is important. This was not just a brief flash of violence, it had multiple goals: kill, steal, terrorize, and weaken the community's ability to recover quickly. Then came the abductions. Residents say several people were taken away during or immediately after the assault, with women and children among those kidnapped. That detail changes the entire story because it means the crisis did not end when the attackers left the market. It continued into the forests, into hostage situations, into families waiting for information that may be slow to come, and into a security operation that now has to locate moving targets in difficult terrain while trying to keep abducted victims safe.
When the shooting stopped, the death toll emerged in layers. Police said more than 30 victims lost their lives, but local accounts put the figure higher. Some residents spoke of 37, some said around 40, and others suggested the toll could exceed 40, especially as some people were still missing. This is how tragedy grows in real time. When communities cannot immediately account for everyone, and when fear keeps survivors from returning to unsafe areas quickly. The safest way to state it is this: authorities confirmed over 30 deaths, while residents and local voices feared a higher toll. On Sunday, January 4, the Niger State Police Command said joint security teams visited the scene and that efforts were ongoing to rescue abducted victims. Yet one of the most painful controversies in this story is what residents say about security presence. Several locals insist they saw no meaningful security protection during the raid and that help did not arrive in time to stop the killings or prevent the kidnappings. That gap between official statements of response and what the community says it experienced has become a central point of anger and grief. The attack also triggered a high-level response from Abuja. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu condemned the killings and ordered Nigeria's top security leadership to hunt down those responsible for the Kasuwan Daji attack and bring them to justice. He also directed that abducted victims be urgently rescued and that security operations around vulnerable communities, especially those close to forests, be intensified. In his message, he warned that the attackers must face consequences and that anyone enabling them would also be held accountable. Those are strong words, but Nigerians have heard strong words before. The question people are asking now is direct. What does this look like on the ground, and how quickly will it change reality for places like Borgu and Agwara? Before we go further, I want to hear from you. Do you believe Nigeria's current security strategy can actually protect rural markets and villages, or do you think the country needs a completely different approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments. On Follow Trend, we read the comments and we track whether official promises translate into action. Now, let's break down how attacks like this unfold and what the KasuwanDaji Kish reveals about the bigger security picture. First, geography is not a small detail here. It is a major factor. Borgu local government area sits within a large landscape where communities can be separated by long distances and surrounded by difficult terrain. When armed groups operate from forest enclaves, they gain three big advantages: cover, mobility, and time. Cover means they can hide, regroup, and store supplies. Mobility means they can use motorcycles and footpaths where vehicles struggle. Time means they can strike and withdraw before reinforcements arrive, especially if response units are far away or lack fast movement options. Second, markets are strategic targets. A market concentrates people, cash, and goods into one predictable place. For criminals, that creates opportunity: loot food and valuables, kidnap people for ransom or leverage, and spread fear that disrupts commerce for weeks. For communities, it is devastating because the market is where they recover from hardship. When a market is burned, traders lose inventory and capital, families lose access to affordable food, and the local economy suffers immediate shock. Third, patterns matter. Reports around this incident point to wider fear about attacks in surrounding communities, including the Agwara and Borgu axis. When threats and raids occur across multiple villages in a short period, it suggests either a coordinated group moving through a corridor or multiple groups operating with confidence that response will be slow. Either way, it raises hard questions about intelligence, surveillance, and early warning systems. How did attackers move, plan, and strike before the market was hit?
Fourth, kidnapping creates a second battlefield. Once victims are taken into forest routes, the crisis becomes tactical and human at the same time. Tactical because security forces must track armed groups that know the terrain and may split into smaller units. Human because families fall into trauma and uncertainty, and rumors spread faster than facts. That is why the directive to urgently rescue abducted victims is not a routine line. It is the most urgent part of the response, because every hour can count. So what should Nigerians watch for next? Not speeches, signals. 1. Visible and sustained security operations around forest-adjacent communities. There has been condemnation from both federal and state levels, and mention of joint teams trailing the perpetrators. Nigerians should watch for tangible indicators: patrol visibility, arrests, rescued hostages, recovered weapons, and a sustained presence that does not vanish after the news cycle. One-off operations that disappear after headlines fade do not change the threat landscape. 2. Clarity on timelines. When leaders say swiftly, the public has a right to ask what swiftly means: days, weeks, months. In cases involving abducted victims, speed is not about politics. It can be the difference between rescue and a prolonged hostage crisis. The public deserves regular, verifiable updates, not rumors and not vague reassurance. 3. Protection that does not shift the burden to civilians. In many rural areas, people form local vigilante structures because they feel they have no choice. But that can also escalate violence and expose civilians to retaliation. The long-term answer has to be stronger, lawful protection, intelligence-led policing, better mobility, better coordination between agencies, and security presence that is predictable and trusted, not only reactive when tragedy has already happened. 4. The economic aftershock. When a market is burned and traders are killed or displaced, it affects food distribution and prices. It affects schooling, because fear can push families to relocate or keep children at home. It affects investment, because people do not expand businesses where survival is uncertain. Security and the economy are tied together, and KasuwanDaji is a harsh reminder that you cannot build prosperity on fear. And finally, there is a bigger national question. Each time attackers enter a community, operate for hours, and withdraw into forests, it signals that state control of rural spaces is contested. Reversing that requires consistent operations, improved intelligence, and a strategy that protects people where they live, not only where cameras can easily reach. For the families of KasuwanDaji, this is not politics. It is grief. It is fear. And for those whose loved ones were abducted, it is a desperate wait for rescue. For Nigeria, it is a test of whether never again becomes real policy or remains a phrase repeated after every tragedy. We will keep tracking this story, whether abducted victims are rescued, whether arrests are made, and whether the security promise becomes visible on the ground in Borgu and neighboring communities. If you found this breakdown useful, share it with a friend and hit the bell so you get instant updates from Follow Trends. And in the comments, tell me the one change you believe must happen immediately to stop attacks like KasuwanDaji from happening again.